right, you ready to go?
I'm ready to
You
go.
good?
Yeah.
Welcome everybody to Talk About Podcast. Even though this ain't the podcast, this is Talk About That. You guys can follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, and subscribe here on YouTube. You guys can also listen to our podcast on all audio platforms. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to all your podcasts. Today, we have a great guest. If you guys have realized, on our board, obviously, we have all UFC stuff. There's one picture in here that stands out. It's the biggest picture that we have, and it's right above Riley's head. That is a picture of myself, Riley, and our big late mentor, and his name is Mike. And Mike passed away last December, so we honor him every time we do a podcast, every time we do a gameplay. It's always here. So ever since we've had the new setup, we've had that new photo. That was a gift from Riley. Today, we have his lovely wife, Annette Weintz. Thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. I know that you were contemplating doing the podcast at first, but you reached back out to me and said you wanted to do it, and I really, really appreciate it. So thank you for doing this with us.
Thank you for inviting me. I think Mike would have loved this platform. He would have showed your audience what knuckleheads you two could be.
Yeah.
That's what he always called you, knucklehead.
Yeah, we have a great podcast. I want to ask, because you brought a whole gift bag and everything. What is in the bag? Are you going to tell us what's in the bag, or is this for later? Yeah,
Well,
what's going on here?
You didn't know that this was going to be a decorating demo, did you?
No, I had no idea. So let's hear about it.
What's in the bag is actually for you two just to zhuzh up the studio a little bit. Who wants to do the honors?
I'll let Riley do the honors. I'll do the commentary. I'll let Riley do all the unboxing. So here we go. First time ever unbox on the Talk About That podcast. Yeah, Jesus, don't break your nose. Let's see what Riley's got. Let's see what Riley's got in the bag.
There's two things in there.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
Let's see it.
But
Oh, yeah.
What does the pillow say?
Oh, the pillow is from the hat, right?
No, the pillow, I believe, is from the T-shirt that Mike was wearing when you guys took the picture and he had the worm on his back.
Oh, throw that picture up, Jack. Throw up the picture of the worm.
That's the. And there's
Let's
even
freaking go.
there's
Shout
even a
out.
little-
Here.
there's even a little worm on it in honor. And there's something else
Oh.
in here too.
I didn't even realize. Wait, is this the shirt? You did this?
Yes.
Riley, this is the shirt.
That's the
It's
shirt.
the shirt. It is
No
the shirt.
way. Thank you so
And there's
much.
something else in
amazing.
there too. There's one more little thing in here. It's
Oh
wrapped
my
in-
gosh, ladies and gentlemen. This is the shirt that Mike was wearing on a very famous photo that we have. I'll throw it up on the screen. Wow, that's awesome. We're not done. The hat. Oh, look at that sweat stain. The king. That's the hat he has in his hand, right?
Yeah. Right there.
You're giving
Yes.
that to us?
I am, and I will confess, I did wash it. It was pretty grungy.
I
I
know.
didn't want
We
you to
all
have
know.
all
Yeah,
the
don't take a
stains
whiff of
and
that
all
hat.
the smell. It's much better now than it was.
That
That's
is
right
amazing. Well, I will say
Oh
this will
my.
always be on our podcast now. We're going to have this always. So I'm going to keep that.
Oh
We're
my
going to set
God.
that up. Here, actually, I want to give a little bit of light to this. Here, let's give me the bag. Is there more stuff in the bag?
No,
Oh,
those were the two things.
All right. Yes.
Here. Put that right next.
You know what? This might not work right now, but we will get it set up. I'm going to put it all back in the bag. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This is what
Means-
grandmas do in our spare time.
No,
We're
no.
retired, so we make pillows out of.
You know what,
Old
though? That was
clothes.
like the greatest. That might
Yeah.
be one of the best gifts I've ever got.
Means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. I guess we should start and talk about something, not only interesting, but if I didn't make a wrong turn, I would have never met you. I would have never met Mike. Let's talk about this. This was back in, I believe, June or July. Riley and I were doing a yard work job for a good buddy. His name is Royce. Lives in the same neighborhood as you. After we completed our mulching job with Roy, I made a wrong turn, was meant to go to my house, and then I ended up going up the road. Went up the road, went into the cul-de-sac, and I saw two people outside planning. I saw a
old people.
monster. I'm telling you, I saw a monster. I saw a mud monster. Let me tell you.
Monster of mug men.
Dude, scrambled in mud, freaking ready to go, plants in the hand, no one else other than the king himself, Mike. and obviously you as well. You guys were both there, and then we started talking about everything, and then we decided that we were going to do something.
Yeah.
And the doing something went from possibly just mulching the house to becoming a friendship.
Yes.
Can I ask, in the beginning of, the story of how we all met and everything, when you guys went back inside and we left, what did you guys think from
Were you
our
guys
appearance? The
like-
original thing, like, who are these people? They're charging us too much money.
You guys
What were you thinking? I always wanted to ask you that question.
Oh yeah, true.
There actually were a couple of lines of thought going. Me being a cynic, I thought, okay, young guys normally from my history don't go around asking old people if they can do jobs for them unless they want to scam them. Right?
Yeah.
So-
real quick.
So-
I want to catch this now before anything happens. Can you switch your headset so the cord doesn't rub against the mic, because you'll hear that. You're good. The same thing happened with Eric too. Oh yeah, there you go. That's better. Now if it hits it a little bit, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, that's perfect.
That's fine.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Continue.
And then the other thought was, could this really be somebody who really does want to help us? Because Lord knows we needed the help. Mike wanted to expand the flower beds, but it was me and him doing it. He has a much more aggressive plan on things than I do, and he likes to work a lot harder outside than I do. So then you became a godsend.
Yeah.
Literally.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, another thing is, just to give context to the people who don't know, you guys moved from California. You guys lived there your whole life together,
Yes,
right?
Born and raised in California. I lived in the same town that I was born in.
Yep. And then you guys went from California to PA. We're gonna get into that a little bit more as well, but that's why they were working on the outside so aggressively, because you guys got a new house. When we met, it was like June or July. When did you
Yes.
guys move in? It was the previous August,
The
right?
previous August.
So that's
yes.
2020.
Yes.
2020 August, because 2021.
2021.
2021 August, you guys moved.
Yes.
So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. When you guys moved, why did you guys move? What was the decision on you guys moving from California to PA? What was the decision process and all that and everything?
Mike always had opportunities during his career with Kraft Foods to move and climb up the corporate ladder. Parents and our family and everybody was there. So we really chose to stay near family rather than spread our wings and climb up the corporate ladder. But that was always in the back of Mike's mind, that what would have happened had we moved and taken a chance. So, both of our parents had passed away, the grandparents were gone, the kids were out of the house, and life just started becoming stale.
Yeah.
I was getting near to the end of my work career. Mike had been retired for 8 years, and our daughter and her son, her husband and son, relocated from Aurora, Illinois to Maryland,
Right.
and we came out here for a visit and fell in love.
Yeah.
And that's when we kind of decided, we probably could make a move. You want to make a move? And we looked at each other and went, yep, we think we do.
He loved plants. He
Yes.
loved yard work. He
Yes.
loved it all. So that's why when you were talking about earlier, again, just trying to give context to the people that are listening or watching, he was very passionate. I mean,
Mhm.
his quote. I'll let you say it. He always says something along the lines of one.
If one is good, 100 are better.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's something Mike always said. So when I say there was not one, not two, not three, there was about hundreds, I felt, of plants.
Yes.
And-
And he was buying more.
Yeah, and we tried to
Every
tell him,
day.
and we tried to
Every
tell
day.
him. We tried to tell him over and over.
You're getting too many.
Yeah, it was
It was a never ending project.
it was.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you guys would leave one week and come back the next, and there'd be a whole new set of plants for you to plant.
Yeah, it's 100% true.
Insane.
And when I'll never forget when we started working with Mike. Mike would really show how passionate he was, and he would let us off the loose, but he always wanted to teach us something in the
Yes.
beginning. That was a big thing I felt like with him, always trying to tell us what to do, how to do it, why you do it this way. Would you say? I mean, he was very. I would say as we started getting closer to him, it became more of just jokes, and we knew what to do.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, Mike was always the same throughout the whole process. Never changed his character, never changed the way he talked, nothing. But felt like he was more teaching us, and we learned a lot of things from Mike. Would you say
Yeah, he was really like straightforward.
Yeah, he would let you know
everything.
He would let you know what he wanted done, how he wanted it done, and whatnot. So anyway, throughout the summer, we obviously ended up coming up with a deal. The next week or two, I'll never forget, I was outside at my girlfriend's house in the driveway, and I was on the phone with Mike. And Mike said that he wanted to do, when we do yard work, we don't do per hour. We like to do it by the job because we do a lot of different types of jobs. But Mike said, I'll offer you paying you guys per hour, and you guys can come 2-3 times a week. And that's ended up what we did. And Mike was the only person that we did yard work for that we would help him, and it would be constantly. Most jobs that we did, if we were doing mulch or weeding, it would be one and done. See you later. Have a good day.
And
right?
that's because most of the jobs were defined. This was not a defined job.
Not at all. Yeah, he wanted a lot of things to be done. He wanted rock fences. He wanted mulch. He wanted plants to be planted. He wanted weeds. He wanted everything under the sun.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm also going to throw up Shitbox. Shitbox is a legendary item. Can you talk about Shitbox? How did Shitbox get created? Picture got thrown up on the screen. If you guys are listening to the podcast, you should go to YouTube, subscribe, and go watch so you can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, tell me about Shitbox. Did it ever smoke in the beginning? Was it always smoking, always doing that stuff?
It never did not smoke.
Because I was looking, I was trying to find the time. I was trying to see if we had a video of when it smoked, but we don't. But literally,
it
what
like
would
blew up?
Yeah, like you
Mike
would sit
sat
on
up
it,
and he was like,
And
"Oh
he-
my god!"
and he got so pissed off at me because he would be like, get on it now, because if you don't get on it, it's gonna stop." You had, like right when he lifted his butt off the seat, somebody had to jump on it before the thing freaking blew up
he
in your
was like
face.
running.
Oh yeah,
I still don't know how to drive it. But
Yeah.
that became
neither do we.
his. That
We never
became-
drove it.
We ended up buying another mower, which was a deal. He found another deal, and it was a John Deere, riding mower. So that's my baby. But his is Shitbox, and of course, Shitbox looked like shit.
Yeah,
right?
well, I
So-
think it looks
It looks
got
better
made up
now, but before it wasn't.
He
It was
put
pretty
he
bad.
put a little lipstick on the pig
Yeah.
to make it look good.
Yeah,
so
he did.
He did paint it black, and then he painted some panels in a
With
red,
the red,
color.
yeah.
And then he found the Shitbox logos.
It's the first ever photo we had. It's a
Yeah.
gift Riley actually gave to you, that picture from that. It's the first photo we ever got. But that was our favorite photo that we ever took with Mike because it was all three of us. It was a great photo. So
It was a very good picture. Mike usually didn't smile, but he looked really happy in that.
you
one.
it's almost like for some reason, and I don't know, it's weird because now that he's not here, it's almost like interesting because I have so many photos from this summer with Mike. And it was almost
A
like
lot.
meant to happen. When
Yes.
I'm thank God that I do have photos because
Yes, it would
if-
be all be lost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Otherwise-
I never take photos.
No.
And like a lot of my summer was just Mike's pictures.
I know, whether it was the
Everywhere.
yard, whether it was him,
Like
whether it was
him
the
rolling
food,
around in mud.
mud,
or
yeah, whatever it was.
plants,
But
cut down trees.
yeah, it was great,
Everything.
and we did a lot of crazy and different jobs, and we did a job for this guy Eric, shout out, next to you,
Yes.
and it was the craziest, biggest job we've ever done. Like we basically
goodness.
redesigned the whole house. Riley, the reason why Riley's saying oh my goodness is because Riley had poison ivy in his eye. We had poison ivy all over us.
bad.
My whole arm was just the thought of it is just
So
gruesome.
weird.
Riley and I were suffering that whole week.
Yes, you were.
It was the biggest job we've ever done. We put so much hours in that, so much so we had to get a U-Haul truck, rented our first ever U-Haul truck, and not just any U-Haul truck, a 26-foot U-Haul truck, about as big as this freaking
And
studio.
guess what?
Literally,
Mike
from door.
convinced us to get a U-Haul truck.
Yes,
He was talking with us near the car, and he was like saying, "I think you guys need a U-Haul truck. That's a lot of stuff."
Yeah, without Mike, we wouldn't have been able to do that job. The U-Haul would have
'Cause
never
we
been
didn't
called.
know how to do it.
We didn't have the chainsaw, which I still have.
Right.
The chainsaw that we use is Mike's, and that chainsaw, without that chainsaw, I mean, if we were using your little dinker chainsaw, we would have never got the job done.
Shout out to you guys because honestly, you were so dedicated and you were on a time frame to do that job and you stuck with it. You did it, even though you both were blown up with the poison ivy.
Yeah.
Let me tell
So,
you,
good for you
honestly,
guys.
it was so difficult. There was a time where I cried to my
Yeah.
girlfriend. I'm not even kidding, and you cried to your
cried.
mom.
Yeah.
We were crying the last day was a Saturday. We started on a Monday, finished on a Saturday, and I'll never forget. 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. I woke up because I couldn't sleep because of how itchy I
You
was.
were. You know what? You guys put in like 12 or 13 hours that day too,
Yes.
didn't you?
Oh.
It was a long
we
day.
had multiple 12 to
my
13 hour
gosh.
days.
Yeah.
It was the thought of it makes me want to like puke, honestly. But it is something that I'll
Righteous.
never forget. It is a memory that we have. We made good money from it, as you know, we should. I mean, we made if we worked really hard.
Yeah, never
the guy we
forget
did
about it.
no, never forget it. Forget about it. And the guy we did it for, Eric, is a great guy. Had a great relationship with him. Was really patient. Really helped us throughout the whole process. So it couldn't have been any better where it was. Yeah, that happens.
Okay.
It just turns off, and then it's
All
like
right.
hypnotizes you for a little bit.
I know.
Can you?
hypnotized me.
Yeah. So yeah, it is a really it was a really interesting experience.
I think it was a growth experience for both of you too. I mean, you took on a challenge that was much harder than what you thought it was going to be. You stuck with it, you did it, and you got more jobs after that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we're no landscaping company. We're just two guys
two
who are
guys.
going around to get a little bit of yard work in the
Yep.
summer. To
Yeah,
Make
and
some
now after that, everything else is gonna be easy.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easier.
Or easier.
yeah, because
at
there'll be
least.
nothing I ever do like that again unless you're paying me $5,000. Yeah, I'll tell you that for a fact.
10 grand.
Yeah,
Each.
that's the catch.
Go big or go home.
And so
Business
anyway, when
man.
honestly, and then like we did do a lot of jobs, but Mike was always the guy we would lean back on. I had messages with Mike. Mike was one of the most frequent people I would text. But it became more than just work
Yes.
partners. Obviously, it became more of a. I would like to say friendship, but we felt Mike as more of like a mentor, and we started having dinners with you guys where Mike would cook dinner, you would cook dinner for us. We would have great talks outside on the patio overlooking the golf course.
Oh my god, the
Um,
first dinner, that was great.
The Indian food.
Oh my gosh.
The non-bread, dude. There's nothing better. And I never want to eat Indian food ever again now.
Yeah.
Without Mike
without the
cooking
nut.
it.
Oh, without Mike. Oh.
Yeah. And but yeah, Mike cooked us our first ever time having Indian
Mm-hmm.
food like in that style with a little bit of non-bread on the side. It was absolutely delicious.
I think he made like 3 or 4 dishes, didn't he? I mean, there were.
Yeah,
there
it was
was a
crazy.
lot.
Yeah,
And
there
this
was
is
a
what I
lot of
want to
different-
ask again, like from your perspective, we had a very great relationship with Mike, but it started to grow with you as well.
Absolutely.
Because you would always be, you were always home when we were doing the jobs.
We
We
were
would always
always
talk to
around.
you. So it always was like both people.
Yeah.
Now, even though we were doing more of the work under Mike's guidance, the way he wanted it and all that, I'm just curious, like, how did it feel like when Mike was like, hey, I'm having the boys over for dinner tonight? Were you like, oh, that's a little bit weird?
I
Or
said-
like, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
says, well, what are you going to do? He says, well, I'm going to cook Indian food. They've never had Indian. Can you imagine? They've never had Indian food. So I'm going to show them how to eat Indian food.
Yeah.
I went, okay.
that's
and
great.
and he was happy doing that. The Indian food was something that he really, really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And being
Oh.
able to introduce new people to Indian food was even better.
Anything
So
he was
that's what
passionate about, it seemed.
Yes.
And what's so crazy to me is I've never really, thank God, and hopefully never, not anytime soon, but I've never really had anybody close like Mike, like pass away.
Yeah.
And a big thing was something that I was really, thinking about is when Mike passed away, I was thinking about how, we only knew Mike
A
for
short time. A few
7 months.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it felt like we knew Mike his whole life.
Yes.
And that's why I wanted to talk to you about, and the reason why I really want to have you on the podcast is we could talk about our memories with Mike all day long. And I will, and so will I. But I
Yeah.
want to know your memories with Mike. There is how old was Mike when Mike passed away?
69.
So he's 69 years old. Okay, 68 years before we met him,
Mhm.
Mike lived on the earth. You know what I mean? Like he didn't just
Like
show
the
up.
dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, when you met Mike, where did you meet Mike? I know you guys have been together for a very, very long time. This year was your 50th anniversary.
Yes.
When did you meet Mike? What was your first impression of Mike? Tell me the little love story between you and good old friggin' Mike. Let's hear it.
Well, it might not be, general audience approved, but anyway. So the first time that I remember seeing Mike, my mother was going through a tough time. She was having a bad day, and it was my dad's day off from work, which was Wednesday. And she said, Leonard, you better get these kids out of the house, take them somewhere. Wherever you're going, you take the kids with you. So I was the youngest of 4, but there would have been 3 of us at home yet at that time. So I was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old, and Dad took us to the driving range. Now, my dad was a golfer, but there wasn't a real close golf course that he could go to on a weekly basis. So he liked to find um, driving ranges that he could go to and work on his game. So this driving range had opened up in the neighboring town. And so, he piles us in the car and we go. Well, my dad does his thing. He gets his clubs out of the car and he gets a bucket of balls and he starts hitting out on the range. And there's this little kid hanging around, a boy hanging around the driving range. And he comes up to me and he's got a bottle of orange knee-high soda. And that wasn't his first one of the day because he had a orange mustache.
Oh boy.
Oh,
He
yeah.
goes, I like orange knee-high soda. And I went, oh, okay.
Oh, what?
Dad.
How old were you?
I was about 8 or 9, I think.
You were 8 or 9 when
so-
you met Mike?
So Mike would have been 9 or 10. So then anyway, he also had a cactus garden. So his father
course
had
he did.
and his mother
Yeah.
allowed him to have a little cactus garden. So here he is, 9 or 10 years old. He's
Already
already
planting.
got a love of plants, right?
Jeez.
Well, I didn't know anybody who had a cactus garden. So that's why it stuck in my head that this kid was weird because he had an orange mustache from knee-high soda and he had a cactus garden.
Right.
Yeah.
But the golf course in our town was built probably about 4 or 5 years later, and it turned out that Mike's dad became the first pro at the golf course. So
Mm.
my dad became a member of the golf club, and Mike's dad was the pro, obviously, and then we started. Some of my girlfriends and I would go to the pool in the summertime because back in those days, nobody had their own pool. We either swam in like irrigation canals
Right.
or you went to the public pool. But here was a private pool that we could go to. So,
Mm.
we'd go hang out there during the summertime, and all of a sudden, Mike and his buddies would coming off the golf course. Well, I mean, we were kind of all attracted to each other, but that went on for a couple of years. And then it wasn't until we were in high school that we kind of got together and realized that we probably could date each other.
Right.
So, and I still didn't put it together that he was the kid with the orange mustache.
Gee.
I
Oh,
didn't
you didn't
know.
realize.
I did not know.
You were like, who's this handsome man who's freaking got all these cactuses in his room?
Yeah, I think that we were probably married for about 10 years before
Wow.
I put 2 and 2 together and went, I've
Oh
met
my
you before.
goodness. You're freaking
Yeah,
orange soda
yeah.
lover.
But anyway, we dated through high school and I became pregnant. So he did the honorable thing and we got married.
Oh,
And,
okay.
Yeah.
And
so,
how old were you guys when you got married?
18 and he was 19.
Wow.
So we were young.
Young, for
And
sure.
they said it wouldn't last. 50
Really?
years later. Yeah.
50 years later.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's talk about that. 50 long, gruesome years with
Some
that
of them
man. Let me
were,
tell
yes.
you. I'm sure they were. But what were some of the, because you guys have traveled all over. And what were some of the best memories from traveling aspect that you guys went? Because that's something we always talked about with Mike, doing traveling. Obviously, love the UK. Get a
Yes.
bunch of friends out there.
Yes.
If you go in your house, you feel like you're,
Somewhere else.
international. Yeah, honestly. So what are some places that you guys have gone that like sticks out to you?
Well, a favorite place of his. Okay, so going back in time, the town we lived in California was Ripon, California. There's also a town in England, in Yorkshire County called Ripon, North Yorkshire. So back in probably the late 70s, maybe early 80s, a team was formed because both mayors of both Ripon towns loved golf. And there was a mayor's conference in San Francisco. So the mayor of the UK came to San Francisco and said, I'm close enough to Ripon, California. I need to go check it out. Then when he found out that the mayor was an avid golfer, they started golfing. And this brainstorm came that they would have a Ryder Cup type of format. And it would be between the two countries. And 1 year would be played in Ripon, California. 2 years later would be played in the Ripon, UK.
Oh, how about that? That's kind of cool.
This is how and then eventually in 1988, Mike and I were invited to be on the team. And that's how we got over to the UK so often.
And a big thing, again, for context, is we talk about Mike with the plants and the artwork, but Mike loved playing golf.
Oh,
His
he
dad
did.
was was a pro.
Yes.
First pro of the course that he
that
was
we
at
belong
forever,
to,
right?
Yes.
And that's where you guys had Mike's memorial as well.
Yes. Yes.
So that was a huge part of his life too. Like if you look at Mike's life, golf has got to be a big percentage of it, right?
Yes.
Would you say?
Main thing.
Would you say it was the number?
It was probably I would say that it was the thing that he did for the longest amount of time.
Okay.
I mean, I can remember him golfing in high school. He was on the golf team there. And then as soon as we could afford to join the club, then we did. And so I think probably when he was 25 or 26, he had his own membership and started playing golf, and probably he never quit playing golf, but he slowed down probably at 64 or 65.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So he played for a long time.
And when we were with Mike, he always talks about, I'm paying all this money for the course and I'm not out there enough.
Yes.
He wanted to go out there more. And I'll never forget wearing the bright orange shirt. He was on the driving range, and Riley and I were somewhere, probably doing yard work, and we were coming through where you guys are, and we saw him, and we honked, and he rose his hand up, and he was hitting balls. It's the first time I ever saw him on the course, because he never really was playing golf, and he always talked about how he wanted to get back into it because he didn't know anybody here. You know, that was a big thing. He wanted to get into bowling as well. Talked about how he wanted to do things like that. But is he? This is a perfect segue. Is he still a part of, or are you still a part of the Cigar Lounge still, technically?
No.
Okay, so you're out of that now.
Yes.
But Mike loved cigars. Mike was a cigar
did.
guy. Let's be honest here.
So he did have quite a stash of cigars, and what am I going to do with them?
Yeah.
So I ended up taking them to the memorial service.
Yeah, that's great.
And then, whoever wanted to take a cigar,
Smoke a cigar.
in memory of Mike, or if they wanted to go outside and smoke it, they could. So that was appreciated by a lot of the guys.
Yeah, Mike wanted us to smoke a cigar with him, and the reason why I declined is because we were eating before, and I didn't want to smoke a cigar and have that horrible taste in my mouth.
It's pretty nasty.
But I regret it now. I regret that I never was able to, and I would just like to have one of his cigars in a display almost, just to be able to have. But with that gift, wherever it is, right here, that's a great gift. It's a great gift. And it's cool to be able to have his shirt and all. We do plan on doing yard work again this year. It works perfect with our schedules and stuff. So we're dedicating this year to Mike. And even when I sent out the message to the people we've done landscaping for, at the end of the message, I said we're dedicating this year to Mike.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
it's a shame, obviously when Mike passed away, and it was a big deal for us. But something that I want to talk about again is, like, we only knew him for so long, and it didn't feel that way. I mean, Riley and I, every day, it felt like, would be talking about Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always something in our head. And then we started playing darts with Mike.
Yes.
I am 2-0 against Mike in darts. He's never beaten me in darts. And, so he's probably up in heaven right now, stomping his feet about that I whooped him in darts a couple times,
I'm sure he
giving
is.
you the bird. Or
Yeah, he probably is giving me the bird. Smoking a cigar, beer in the hand. But you do plan on staying here, right?
Yes.
You still plan on staying in PA. You're not going to move back to California or anything like that.
No, I am not going back to California.
But you are going back next week to visit your
I
daughter.
am spending Easter with my daughter and grandson, yes.
And they're coming out here pretty soon, right?
They are trying to move to Tennessee, yes.
Yep, and that's going to
Once
be...
he finishes 8th grade, then they'll move.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're excited for that. Yeah, I've never been to Tennessee. Riley has, though.
Yeah.
Riley says
love the
Tennessee is
place.
great.
All
Yeah.
the mountains and
It's very pretty.
that small town where what is it called when you get lifted up into I don't know,
Nah,
like
nobody
getting
knows what I'm
lifted up onto the mountain with this
The ski
trolley
lift
or
with a
something.
tramway. The
Sky
tram-
lift, that's what it's called. Yeah, going up that and seeing the view.
Why did you do
is
that?
Insane.
Just for...
Because we went up in this one store area inside like a mountain or something.
a lot of times those ski runs are closed, obviously, when the snow is gone, but they still like to keep them active. And so as part of the tourist trade, they will sell tickets to get people up the mountain during
Have you ever
off
gone
snow.
skiing and snowboarding?
No.
Have you?
No.
Dude, I went snowboarding one time recently. It was amazing.
Was it
It
fun?
is awesome. I love it, dude. It takes a little bit to get used to, but once you get good, it's got to be the most
Where
therapy.
were you?
Upper PA. We went the trip when Callie got us the trip. Justin took me. So yeah, it was great. I recommend it. I mean, I know you probably don't want to do that now, but
No, I'm not going to do that now.
but maybe. But yeah, but Riley, you should do it, and it was a lot of fun. When you guys did a lot of stuff, and when you guys traveled, you guys would obviously, you're flying to the UK and stuff like that, but you guys loved driving all the way across the country. Not once, not twice, multiple times, probably more times than you can even count. You've driven from PA to
I've done the
California.
trip 3 times.
Okay, but
I think Mike did it 4, maybe 5.
wow, up and
Insane.
back.
Yes.
Like that's one trip, up, back.
Round trip.
Doesn't
round
it
trip.
take
Wow.
a day or something to get
Oh
there?
no, Jimmy,
or
it takes
longer?
a lot more than a
It's-
day.
It was from our doorstep in California to our doorstep in PA. It was 44 hours if you took
Oh,
the southern route,
jeez.
42 hours if you took the middle route. So we would try to drive 8, 9, maybe 10-hour days. But yeah, so it would take us 5.5, 6 days, depending on how often we stopped, how long we stopped.
Right? Was
Yeah.
it grueling? Like, imagine
Yeah,
driving 8 hours, 3
Why
days
do
in a
you-
row. Like, it's
why
just
did you want to do that rather than just fly?
people want to experience it, right? And
We
also,
did.
you guys were moving stuff out too, so that was a part of it, right?
Yeah. But
yeah.
you know, when I retired, or before we retired, then what we wanted to do was just see a little bit more of the country. So
Right.
now, what you guys don't know is Mike had a goal before he was 50. He wanted to have visited all 50 states.
No,
Yeah,
he,
he said
he
that.
told
He
us.
did. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So
and he did.
He did.
Mhm.
He managed to do that.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
But I hadn't been through a lot of the states.
Have you
so-
been to all 50 states
Nope.
too?
Nope. I need to do the East Coast.
Oh,
But I've
okay. But
been
so how
through-
many have you? Do you know the number? Probably a good 30, right?
Oh, probably more like 40 or 42 states.
Geez.
Yeah.
So you only have like 8 more to go.
more.
And especially if it's around here, you can
Oh,
probably
easy,
knock them
easy
out.
peasy,
Right.
yeah.
For you guys. I mean, that's what I was saying. Like,
Yeah, in California, it would take us, we were in the center of the state, so it'd take us 4 hours to get to Nevada, but it would take us like 10 hours to get down to Mexico.
right.
And if we wanted to go up north, it would probably take us another 6 hours to get out of California into Oregon. So, you know, the mentality is that California's a long distance drive, right? Out here, we went to Connecticut the first year we were here, and we went through, I think, 7 states in 8 hours. That's mind-boggling.
Jeez.
Mind-boggling when you can't get out of California in less than 4 hours.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's
You
what I
know-
mean. Especially around here, you are able
Yeah.
to jump lines very easily. When
quickly.
you're in California, you're just in California for like
Yeah.
3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I thought Mexico. I don't know. This is an idiot comment, but I didn't know that Mexico was next to America. I thought it was across the ocean or something.
Half of Mexico, half of America used to belong to Mexico.
Jeez.
It's below. It's right below us.
Yeah.
like where Hawaii is.
No,
No.
not really.
Not even close.
We'll have to pull out that geography map for
Hawaii's
you.
down
You know-
here.
How about we just
Mexico's over here.
We'll give Riley a geography lesson later.
yeah, let's just let Mr. Means take care of that, you know?
Yeah,
Just talk to Mr. Means about it. Mr. Means will show you what to
Yeah.
do. I'm
that's
not no
that's my history
teacher.
teacher.
yeah. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I mean, when you do drive though, and I know it's cool. It's got to be cool. Like I know, like when you're like, oh, we're retired now, we're doing this, that, and the other. But it's got to be so tiring because
There are some drives that are very, very boring.
I'll drive to
Um,
South Carolina with my girlfriend, and that's 8, 9. I've done it 10 hours, and it is
Sucks.
like the worst thing I can ever. That's why I hate driving now. I mean, when you do that, and then you have to come home, it's just horrible. And it's not a fun drive. You're 100 miles going straight. It's not like a hard drive necessarily. It's just
But the scenery is so beautiful.
not
Even,
always.
you
But like
know,
you said, not always, right?
even going through the desert, there's a majesty in the desert. Nevada is boring. Utah can be boring.
Well, hold on. a
Really?
minute.
But
Nevada isn't too boring. You're not talking about like Vegas. You're talking about Nevada. I mean, it is like there is like like
Yeah,
once you get
nothing
out of
else.
Las Vegas, you're like looking at cactuses.
Yeah,
you know,
you
like
are.
Mike like planted it all over
Yes.
the whole. Yeah, like it is kind of.
sagebrush.
It is
Yeah.
like really interesting. It is kind of bland. But have you ever
And
been to
it's flat.
Vegas?
Yes.
What do you think about Vegas?
I don't like Vegas.
What? No
I know.
way.
It for me,
Not
It's
your
an-
style, not your
for-
cup of tea.
For me, it's an energy sapper.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
is
if
an
you
energy.
if you like people watching, it's a great place to watch people.
I'm sure.
Uh,
I love Vegas, and I like it because of the fights. I'm sure it's going to
Oh,
be
sure.
more entertaining when you're 21. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be there when you're not 21 is kind of dumb, but for the fights, I loved it. But it is very bland, and you guys I've been to California multiple times, but all Southern California. You guys were upper more towards San Francisco and stuff like that. How
Yes.
far were you from San Francisco?
We were about 90 miles from San Francisco.
Okay, so did you enjoy your time in California? I mean,
Loved it.
your whole part of, I mean,
Loved
that
it.
is literally,
Yeah, California, people, Mike always said California should be 2 states.
Yeah.
Should be Northern California and
Yeah,
Southern
California's
California.
huge.
It's a huge state, but there's such diversity too. So
just think about it. I'm sorry to interrupt, but just think about how great it would have been if it was me, you, Annette, and Mike. I mean, it would have to be us 4 too, because it just
Right.
adds.
I mean, there's a lot of volcanic activity in California, Shasta Dam and Mount Lassen. Those are, I think Lassen might still be active, but Shasta's an inactive volcano, and they're Mount Diablo. I mean, it was fun. You could go into the city, go to the symphony, or go to the beach, or
Do you miss it?
Um, oddly enough, what I miss is with all the snowfall they've had this year in California, the Sierra Nevada mountains would be stunningly beautiful. And I know the mountains here are beautiful too.
We get like no snow. It's just like cold rain.
yeah,
windy.
but
I hate it.
But
It's
they've
been a
had-
windy winter this year. I
Yeah.
feel like it's just been every time I go outside, my whole face is like blowing off.
I
Yeah.
like PA though.
I
PA
love
is great.
PA. It's beautiful here, and the history here is really something to take in too. We don't have quite the kind of written history that you have. Our California's history really started in 1849 during the gold rush.
Right.
And that's really when San Francisco was built up and those kind of things happened. But yeah, you could go to volcano country. You could go into, be an hour and a half. You're at the beach. 3 hours, you're up in the mountains skiing. I mean, it's just a gateway to almost everything you wanted to do. And yet it was a very agricultural area. So, you could see the landscape change during the seasons because obviously California doesn't have, 4 seasons like the East Coast does.
Right.
Right.
And you have 2 daughters.
Yes.
And the one lives in California currently. She's moving to Tennessee. The other one's here
Yes.
in in Maryland.
Yeah.
But when did she move? Because she was first. Is she your youngest or oldest?
She's the oldest.
Okay, she's the oldest, and she
Yes.
moved from California
To Chicago.
to Chicago,
Yes,
and then moved
with
from
her company,
Chicago.
To Maryland.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Was it all work for the most part?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, when she did move, was it a change for her? I don't know if you can speak for her, but when she did move, I find it
No,
interesting because
she actually enjoyed it. She was very career oriented, and so she was looking for the challenges that work would offer her in another location.
what did she do for a living?
She worked for Kraft Foods. And
Okay. She
ended
did something
up,
similar.
Yes.
Okay.
So she ended up being in logistics or supply chain with them.
Rather than sales.
Rather
with
than
Mike.
sales.
Okay.
Right. But she always talked about the weather, how interesting the weather was.
Right.
And
Because it is a big change.
Yes, it was a very big change.
Was it a
very
big change for you and Mike as well? Like
Coming out here, you mean?
yeah,
to
when you
PA?
like walked outside, it was a little bit brisk out, and it wasn't like dry and
80.
62 degrees all the time.
Yeah. Yes, but
Was it
but
nice?
not in a bad way.
Yeah,
I love
okay.
the weather out
So
here.
that's what I was gonna say. Because
love
some
it.
people like it,
Yeah.
and I actually do. I'm so ready. It's like weird. Like I love the seasons.
Mhm.
Fall is my favorite
God, I'm
season.
ready for the summer. right now.
That's what I was about to get to. Like
I'm
fall,
tired of this.
Yeah, it's like windy city, but I like fall's my favorite season. I like the colors. I like a sweatshirt. Winter blows, but winter's got cool stuff because you can go from Thanksgiving to Christmas, and then it sucks. Like January, February,
And
March
March
is
are hard.
dirt.
Yeah.
But then you get so ready for summer, and then you get summer, and then once summer's over, I'm like, I get to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm ready for a little bit of cooler weather. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I'm so ready for summer too. But I like the seasons,
It was, but it wasn't a bad difference for her. I
Okay.
mean, again, she was 30 something. So she was ready to make the change.
Right.
And she was ready to be independent and do her own thing and make her mark on the world.
Yeah.
So, it all worked out.
I wanted to go back. So and I'll bring out. So the day that we put the worm on the shirt, okay?
You're admitting to putting the
I'm
worm.
admitting to
You
putting the
told
worm
me
on the
you
shirt.
didn't know
Yeah.
how the worm
Don't-
got there.
yeah.
It was a mystery.
We
Okay.
might have.
We're
we
getting the scoop now. Everybody, you hear it now. He's confessing.
may have not have put a worm on Mike's shirt. But here's what was going on. Correct me if I'm wrong. I want to make sure I'm saying the story right. But we were putting those big bushes in the holes, right? And we would ride on the back of Shipbox, on
Yes.
like the back of it. And Mike would be driving, right? And originally Mike, he didn't know that we were getting in the back. And then we just started jumping in the back. And then he just didn't care. And we would get out.
But then he knew.
He
knew we were in the back.
And he didn't care at all. And when we got out there, we would have to carry this freaking 60-pound bush, drop it in the hole that he dug for us. And we just kept doing it. There was 5 or 6 different holes, wasn't there?
Roll it in the mud.
Yeah, roll it in the mud, put the hose in
Leather.
there, have to do the same thing every freaking time. And it was just a process. But what we did is, because there was worms from the soil and the dirt, we would take the worms and we would put it on Mike's shoulder and we would see if Mike would realize. And he didn't even realize. But the one thing with Mike is that when we would joke around, he knew, but he wouldn't tell us that he knew. So it was like he was ahead of the game. Yeah. We thought we were winning, but we weren't winning. Yeah.
No, he was miles ahead of me.
Yeah, he was miles ahead. Yeah. So that's the story with the worm and everything. That's why we did that. And like I said, it was Mike was something we were able to fall back on. If we weren't getting in a lot of houses, we actually have the calendar. It's actually over there of the month that we went. Yeah. We did a bunch of different houses. And we did really, really well. But Mike was always somebody that we could fall back on in case there wasn't a house, there wasn't multiple houses for the week. Because, it is hard. You're cold calling everybody, going to all these houses, knocking on all these doors. It's a lot of work physically.
You're putting yourself out there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work physically, but it's also a lot of work, knocking on these guys' doors and saying the same thing over and over just to get the door slammed in your face 90% of the time.
That happens a lot too.
Yeah, there's a lot of effort that goes into it, but Mike was always something that we were able to, rely on. That hey, if we don't have the best week, we know Mike's going to be helping us out. But a big thing with Mike is, like I said, we the friendship.
Yeah.
And we played a lot of darts. We had a lot of meals. The Indian food wasn't the only time. And I think it would be best to shed some light on this. In December, I texted Mike, and it was the time where we weren't doing any yard work. And I said, hey, we got to get together and we got to have something to eat. So we got naan bread, and he made what did he make?
Was it the burnt ends?
Yeah, this is the brisket. This is when he made the brisket.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, my car was getting an oil changed. Oh my goodness, this is a story. I wish you could hear the conversation. I was driving with my dad because my dad had to take me to get my car. And I call Mike because I'm texting Mike hey, are we still in? And he's not responding. I call Mike. He goes, yo, what's up? I said, Mike, are we still doing this? You're not answering me. He goes, dude, I've been outside since 5 o'clock. Going off. I'm like, all right, man, we're good. He goes, all right, man, I'll see you then. See you then, buddy. It was just great.
It's got to make you feel guilty for not being there.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It was like he was mad, but he wasn't actually mad. It was just a part of his gig.
That was him.
And then we showed up, and I'll never forget, and this is my point, this is why it's so weird how it all played out, because we were all inside talking, right in your kitchen, and then you stayed inside and we're talking to you. And then I went outside and I was talking to Mike, just Mike. We were talking about jobs, school, whole bunch of stuff, one-on-one conversation. And Riley and I wouldn't typically get a lot of one-on-ones with Mike because it was us together.
Sure.
There was a couple times where I actually, was not working and Riley was only working with Mike, and vice versa. When Riley was in school, I went over to help Mike a couple times.
It was the two of you.
But mostly it was the two of us. Yeah. And I'll never forget, having that one-on-one conversation. Then I went inside and started talking to you, and then Riley went outside, and then you had that one-on-one conversation. It was really weird. And then, you were cooking mostly. You did a lot of everything other than the brisket. Mike was kind of in control of that, and you were doing the appetizers and the side dishes and everything. The brownies. We'll get to those freaking
bricks.
Oh, yeah.
I figured out the thing with the brownies because I did make another package of those. Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to come over for that package. But we went downstairs. We played darts, like I said, undefeated against Mike. And we played the darts. It was a great time. And then we actually ate downstairs because it was so cold. We typically ate outside on the patio.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let Riley say this part because I know Riley will never forget this. When Mike comes down the stairs, what did he have in his hand?
Oh my
Oh,
god.
geez.
Just a full plate of beans. That's it.
And he's
that's
like,
it.
and he goes, and then he says the quote. He goes, what's the quote again? 100.
If one is good, 100 are better.
If one is good, 100 is better. And he goes, dude, if I'm going to fart and be on the toilet, might as well just do it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole plate was
plate.
beans.
And it was like this thick.
Like 2 burnt ends, a drink, a beer, and beans. Freaking nasty beans.
He should have just took the whole freaking thing.
I know. So I'll never forget that. And then Mike went over to his computer, started playing the games, and nobody realized, and I told you this the other day when we went out to eat, we were changing. Mike loved Irish jig music.
Yeah.
Loved his freaking UK music.
Yeah.
Oh
it's
my
so
gosh.
good.
It is so great. But
Yeah.
I would go over to his computer and I switched it. And I was switching the music to this rap music. And it was so intense. And Mike was like, where is this coming from? Nobody knew. And the
I
whole
don't know
time.
what's happening here. What did
I
I do?
know.
I don't get this.
And then he was like banging his head to it. This is a podcast. If you are listening, this is a podcast you'd probably want to visually watch because I'm going to throw a lot of stuff up on the screen. But yeah, it was just great. And that was the last time that we ever saw Mike.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was a great, great guy. And you know, we just said this last night to each other. I just hope that he knows that we cared very much about him. And
He
we
did.
still to this day think about him all the time. He's right there on. Riley also got me a picture of, I think it's that.
was such a
No,
good picture.
yeah, I don't know if it's, no, it is that one, the same photo.
Same one.
I have that. You have the photo of him
Yeah.
on Shitbox. Riley has a, picture of him. Pictures right here. We always are thinking about Mike,
Always.
and we
Well,
are
now
so
you've got him in
grateful.
the studio.
This is.
Yeah.
I can't
That's
believe
great.
this is the truth. I didn't connect.
Yeah.
The dots.
At first I was like,
I thought you
Wait.
got this at the same place, and then you just sewed the worm on there. I didn't realize you got a pillow, sewed the shirt. Like that's like
Yeah, I took the
That's-
shirt apart. to
this
make
is
a pillow.
amazing.
the shirt.
This
That's
is the shirt. That's incredible.
I went through the.
This will always be in our
pictures.
studio.
I went through the pictures to find the shirt, and then I dug through his shirts because everywhere he went, he picked up a T-shirt. So he had a massive collection. And if I say that he had 200 T-shirts, I wouldn't be exaggerating.
And let me
my
tell you,
gosh.
that hat has been through hell and
That
back.
hat has been through the wars. You better believe it. So that was. We got that from our trip to Alaska. Alaska was the last
Shout
state
out.
he needed before he was 50.
Wow. Oh,
So-
Alaska was the vinyl.
Yep. So that
What did
was
you
the
think of
hat.
Alaska? Did you like Alaska?
Yeah,
There's a lot of people there. No, right? It's a low populated place.
Yeah, it's a hard
Yeah.
life there in Alaska.
Is it? Why?
Yeah. Because it still is. It's the last American wilderness.
Mm.
It truly is. And it's just a hard life.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean it's the last American wilderness? What does that mean?
A lot of places are rural. And, in the summertime, on the wintertime, they get snowed in. I mean, and they don't see daylight for 24 hours.
Jeez.
So, I mean,
Just get
it's
pummeled
it's
down.
hard.
and it's brisk.
It's
I mean,
bri-
what's
it's
the
brisk.
degrees down there?
It's
Oh,
not
I
that
don't know.
brisk.
Fact, probably -7.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The
So
es-
where you guys were, was it cold when you were there?
We were there in August, so,
Okay, so-
it was at the end of the season because we took a cruise ship. So that was the way we were going to see Alaska.
Was it still pretty cold?
Because there's glaciers in Alaska.
Mhm.
So
Was it beautiful though?
Stunningly
Yeah.
beautiful.
What is the most beautiful place you've ever been to?
Oh my goodness.
Think about
Well-
all the places you've gone. I know that's a big question, putting you on the spot, but I'm really interested.
I'm gonna
Alaska.
guess.
Alaska is beautiful. The Sierra Nevada mountains in California are stunning.
Wow, that's out of
They
all
are.
the places you've been. What were
I
you?
thought
gonna get?
she was gonna say Paris. That's what I thought.
Paris was fun.
But
Paris
not
is
for
great.
Mike. If
No,
I
he
remember,
was
Mike
sick.
hated
He
Paris.
had-
He didn't like it.
He had strep throat.
Oh,
he
okay,
had
so that's
strep
why.
throat. So.
Okay.
But the world's an amazing place.
I know he liked Ireland.
Ireland.
He loved
Oh.
Ireland.
Okay, well, thank you for reminding me of that because the
Where
Irish
is he?
coast is stunning as well.
Look at that. That right there. That's the king of Ireland. Let me tell you that for a fact. You know who that is?
I think it's Conor McGregor.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly
I
who
think
it
I've seen
is.
a couple of his fights.
Oh,
in
you've
the
seen
years
him, yeah, the
past.
king.
Yeah.
But yes, we always would talk about Ireland. Always would talk about Ireland because I really want to go there. I wanted to go there this year, but it might not work out this year. But pretty next couple of years.
Yeah.
And you just said something I wanted to go back on when you said the world is an amazing place. There is so much about this world that you don't know about, that you don't see. Not just, I don't mean just with people and lifestyles and how they grow up and stuff, just the views.
Yes.
I mean, if you watch the Nelk Boys video with like Hasbullah when they met him in Islam, and you look at Dagestan, Russia, nobody knew. You probably don't even know what Dagestan, Russia is.
Nope.
Nobody knows Dagestan, Russia unless you're a UFC fan, because all these fighters are coming from Dagestan, Russia. There's
It's just
small
a small place,
but
woods.
freaking animals coming out of that place.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that for a fact.
They like lived on a side of a hill.
But look how
Oh,
cool
wow.
it
It's
is.
insane.
Look how cool it is. There's some really nice places, and you go to all these other countries. I'm just saying, like, there's just so much you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And what would you say is a place that you went to? Again, I'm going to put you on the spot, but what's a place that you went to that you were like, this is just something that I just didn't think was really real. You know what I mean? Like, I know that you just said like with the
Oh.
scenery and everything, but does that make sense? Does
Yeah.
my question make any sense?
Actually, I have that feeling about Budapest in
Where-
Hungary.
Oh, you've been to Hungary?
Yeah, we
Where's
went to
that at?
Budapest.
Where's that at?
Is that in South Africa?
No, it's Eastern Europe.
Oh, it's in Europe.
Yeah.
Hungary.
But
Jesus.
that
We
was
really
a-
need
that
to go
was-
back to school, eh?
That was
Yeah, I
a
know.
fascinating
Well,
place.
I'm in school.
Yeah.
And I
Well, you
think
need to stay.
Yeah.
And I need to go back.
you need to take remedial geography.
I need higher classes. That's what I need.
Yeah. That's funny. But continue. So Hungary. Why Hungary?
Because we were in Vienna, Austria, and Hungary was close enough. And Mike, we were taking this trip on points because again, Mike knew how to work the program for points. So we flew over there on points, and we stayed in hotels on points. And so there was a hotel he wanted to stay at in Budapest that was actually it was a Hyatt hotel that was actually built into a monastery, an old monastery.
What is a monastery?
Where the monks lived?
Who are the
So-
monks?
Well,
Jesus, we're really getting a history lesson.
Yeah, I
Well,
know.
I feel like very
a religious order for Catholicism, I believe.
Okay.
I mean that was the basis of this was the Catholic monks
Okay.
had lived in this area, and the monastery had crumbled, and so the Hyatt took the crumbles and whatever was left and incorporated a hotel around it. I mean, it was stunning.
You should be a history teacher.
Yeah, you would be a good history
You'd
teacher.
be really good.
Well, because you know so much. That's why I'm asking these questions. And I
Well,
want
see,
to.
you guys don't know anything, so I can bullshit you all I want, right?
Yeah, we
Who's
really
gonna call me out
just
on
be
it?
a substitute for
Yeah, a little
us.
sub.
You know?
Yeah.
Just a sub.
A little sub. Oh, you could be a good substitute teacher. You think you'll ever do something like that?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Something you do like to do and that you are passionate about, and obviously we can shed some light on it because we're talking about the pillows. You do like to sew and like crochet too.
No, I don't crochet.
Okay.
So
My girlfriend crochets. That's why I asked.
yeah, I was never relaxed enough to crochet. So
Okay.
everything I did, nothing laid flat. It all was bunched up together because my hands are so tense.
And
So
you do and you sew.
I do so.
Are you passionate about stuff like that?
No, I like the creative outlet.
Okay.
So
It's nothing you would ever want to create into like a business or.
No, I'm not that good.
Okay.
I'm a crafter. I mean, I don't do anything well enough to make a business out of it. But, I do jewelry, and I'm getting back into stained glass. I did stained glass for many, many years, but it's probably been 30 years since I've picked up my soldering iron. So I'm getting back into that again, and I do make jewelry, and I repurpose things.
That's
so.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I want to ask, because we haven't really talked about this. What is the plan for the vision that Mike had outside? We are starting to creep up on summer now.
I
The
know.
spring is here. Do you have an idea on what you want to do with the outside yet?
Well, I've got to research what plants we have that need to go into the ground because, he did do a lot of maple trees, and I don't know where they all belong or where he wanted to put them. And I'm going to confess, I am going to take some of the plants out that he put in last year because I'm the mower. And where he
Right.
put plants, it's not easy to mow around.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take a few things out that make it easier for me.
Hopefully,
to
you don't get
maintain
struck
it.
by lightning.
I know.
Yeah, because he might
Could
not like
happen.
that. Yeah, it could happen. He might not
But
like that.
I'm going to try to figure out where he wanted to put the maple
Right.
trees. Just kind of do some research on them, whether they're shade lovers or whether they can be out in the sun or whether they're tall or short. And
Now, obviously, Mike would talk about this all the time with us, but would he talk about these plants just nonstop with you in the house, or was it not a big thing?
well, I'm sorry, my eyes would glaze over. So he might talk. I wasn't listening.
Yeah, okay.
Because it was much more a passion for him than it was for me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he was really trying to make it into something
But
special.
you know what he also liked was the research. So he would dive into like the maple trees to find out the different types, the different colors, when the colors would come on.
Oh, yeah,
how
he
long the colors
knew
would be there.
everything.
But
He knew everything.
He enjoyed the research
Right,
as much as he enjoyed anything else.
for
Mhm.
sure.
So, but you haven't talked about his Sarracenia plants, which was a big
Yeah,
passion for him.
that.
Yes.
So not only did he,
Well, great segue. Yeah, let's talk about that
Yes.
because that's something I had no idea about.
right?
And then when he first, and that was one of the first things we saw when we first went to their house, is he showed us all those plants,
Yep.
and you showed us the backyard, and it was very incomplete. I mean, in the amount of time, in the 3 months that we did, 3, 4, 5 months that we did do yard work at the house, we did get a lot of stuff done all together. Me,
you got
Mike,
a lot of
and
you got
Riley.
a lot of stuff done. Yes.
and you even helped out with a lot of stuff
I
out
did.
there
Yeah.
too. So.
The one-on-one talking about those plants.
Yeah,
because
and-
we were just right over it.
Not to throw Mike
He's
under
like-
the bus, but I
Yeah.
said, "What are you doing with those leaves that are all bunny?" He goes, "If it looks like shit, I didn't do it."
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna get struck by lightning for saying that.
What was that?
I don't know. Some leaves were bunched up, and he said that you did it. He goes, "You think I did that?"
Oh. Oh, 'cause
You
I
guys were
I think I
comedy.
think I
At its
harvested some of the plants out back and let them dry.
Yeah, ooh,
Yes.
Mike didn't like the drawing. I'll tell you that for a
Yeah,
fact.
well, whatever.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna do what I want. It's my yard too. No, yeah, Mike is a great guy, and even though nothing we do, I mean, talk about that. Our podcast that we're, obviously we're doing right now. We're getting a bunch of different types of guests, but the majority is, mixed martial arts related,
Right.
and it has nothing to do with anything with Mike. But Mike is the only person that will ever go up on our wall,
And he
other than
always
like maybe
will.
us, obviously.
Aw.
He'll always be up on the wall. If we switch studios, we get a new place, Mike will always be there. And now the pillow will always
The
be there.
studio and the hat.
And
Gotta
you know what
figure-
I'm gonna
figure out
do?
where to put the
I'm
hat.
going to put the pillow on the chair
Chair.
for our guests
Yep.
so they can take it down, set it down. It's going to be fantastic. But is there anything else you want to add to the podcast before we wrap everything up?
No, this was great.
Thank you so much.
All these presents, I loved it.
Yeah,
This
thank you
was
so
great.
Well,
much.
Thank you.
This is where it belongs. I mean, with the picture up there, you need a little mic in your studio.
Yes,
so
we
thank
do.
you
Yeah.
guys for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for doing this. Thank you for a great relationship that we have. I hope we continue to have it
hope we
throughout the
do
whole
too.
year.
Yep.
We're obviously going to help you with continuing to do your work stuff this year. Mike is a great.
I won't ask you to take any of the plants out that you put in.
Yes. Well, a lot of the plants that are in the ground we put in. So, well, Mike did a lot
No.
too.
Yeah.
Mike was out there without us too.
Yeah.
We were.
24/7.
He would. It was almost like he would pay for us to help him for those hours, obviously. But Mike was always out
He
there.
was always.
It
out
wasn't
there.
like he was paying us
No.
and we were doing the job. Like
he was
Mike was
inside.
just a part of it.
Yeah.
He was the one sweating, pulling all the worms out. Oh yeah, he was the one in the puddle, ripping it out with his bare hands, sticking that plant in the ground. It was freaking Mike, the man. But yeah, it's great to be able to look up right there, always see him.
cool.
We really, really appreciate you doing the podcast. Thank you so much. You guys can follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, subscribe here on YouTube. Like I said, all audio platforms you guys can go and listen if you're at work, if you're at school, maybe if you're doing some yard work and you want to listen to the Talk About podcast, you can always listen to it on all audio platforms. I suggest if you did listen to this, go watch it because there'll be some cool pictures and photos. Thank you so much, Annette. I really, really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
And Riley has nothing else to say, which is typical. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a good day and peace.